So, guys, I said it before. I'll say it again. I don't think we know enough about the chip in the Switch yet to really make a determining factor on how strong it is. Of course, those frequencies came out and kind of gave us an idea as to how fast the chip will be moving in practice. But there's a lot of other things that go into that, and I don't think we know really much about the chip at all right now. And this is becoming more and more obvious as new things are coming out. For example, two things actually have kind of come to light today. One thing involves the Unreal Engine 4 that, of course, the Switch will support. Now, what happened was about a month ago, a new version released. They update it pretty much consistently depending on if anything's coming out, like a new game or new settings, or they're always refining the engine, essentially. So what happened here is a developer went through the coding, basically, of the engine and found settings for the Switch that have been added. I think they were in there before. I think they just had them renamed as something else, and then they put the names in now since people are going to start, obviously, developing for the Switch because we're getting closer to release date. So games that will be coming out, in the next year or next year that are using Unreal Engine will start program for them now. But what's really interesting to note here is that there are two versions for the Switch, which we already know about. There is basically a handheld mode, and then there is a docked mode. We already know that the handheld mode will run lower than the docked mode because it will be more powerful in the dock because it does not have that battery constraint. We've talked about this at length now. Not a big deal. So what happens is when it's in the dock, however, it is, according to this developer, who went through it, which apparently any of us can go through it and check it. Honestly, I might have one of my friends who is programming look through it and just see what he can tell me. But what happens here is they went through it and they checked the settings and everything. And what they found was the Switch, even when in dock mode, is, they said, like a notch lower than the Xbox One, the PC, and the PS4 settings. These are default settings you can use to help port a game from one to the other. And what this tells me is actually porting a game from the PS4 to the Xbox One to the Switch actually won't be as very hard because it's going to support Unreal Engine 4 fully. And the other big thing that I noticed, and people were kind of talking about this, it doesn't use the mobile rendering. So the Switch in turn is actually using the exact same Unreal Engine that the PS4, the Xbox One, or the PC would use. It's not using a mobile rendition that, say, any of the older Tegras would use with like a Nexus 7 or anything like that, or one that that would be supported on like a phone or a mobile device. And this is actually pretty big considering the Switch is considered a mobile device. Obviously, it's a handheld device, but this tells us that even in handheld mode, it will still run a full version of Unreal 4. And that's big for anyone who wants to port stuff. And it looks like these settings are pretty much locked in, so you can basically move your games over and basically have these settings depending on what you have, whether it be handheld mode or dock mode, and it will just help you move it over. I'm sure there's still some more stuff you would have to do to help fine-tune it. These are just default settings kind of to get you started, and then of course you play around with them to make sure it runs in every part of the game as you'd like it to. And the other thing this gives us basically confirmation of is that the screen will probably be about 720p, and then when in docked mode it will be 1080p, because if you look down at the handheld mode, it's set to run at 66%. The screen percentages, that's the line that comes up, screen percentage is 66%, which will match up going from 1080 to 720, considering that's basically the difference between them for the most part. And it will basically give us a smaller version of the game on the tablet, and then they're also going to change some settings around, mostly lower some settings. In particular, they're going to lower the anti-aliasing setting, FXAA, which basically, if you're looking at a game and you see like a character model or edges of buildings, it will just use essentially math to smooth those edges out. And that just kind of taxes your obviously your horsepower in whatever device you're using, whether it be the video card or the CPU working together, to smooth those edges out and give you a cleaner picture. But as we've seen with like the 3DS, for example, which obviously you can see how many jaggies around different things on that, it's very common in handheld mode, especially on other games that are handheld, to have those jaggies because that's pretty tough on the little console when it's portable to do. And another piece of news actually came out around the Switch. It's from basically an Nvidia technical marketing manager. I guess that's their title, technical marketing manager from Nvidia. And they talked to Nintendo World Brazil. It's a magazine. It's basically their Nintendo magazine that goes out in Brazil. And they talked about the Switch a little bit. And they gave us just some very vague answers for the Switch, but it also had me thinking that there's really something we may be missing with the chip. And I'll kind of read what they translated. The translation is not perfect. It is obviously from Portuguese, I believe they said, and it's being translated to English. But let me go ahead and read what they said, and I'll put it up here on the screen for you as well. So here we go. There's bolded text here. This is from the Nintendo Switch Reddit. So thanks, guys. They're usually pretty on top of things. So if you just check out the Nintendo Switch Reddit at times, you'll see these pieces of news come up. It's pretty cool. But real quick, I'll show you very fast. It's bolded here. Starting from there, he says, however, he confirmed that the Tegra that equips the Switch has a GPU based on the same architecture that originates from the most powerful video cards in the world, and that is the GeForce GTX. That's not really new. We kind of know it's somewhere in there. It's Maxwell, it's Pascal, it's something along those lines. But what was really interesting is the next paragraph down. It basically confirms to me anyway that this chip is heavily customized from all of those engineering years and everything, and there's something we're missing. Like I said, if you look here, it says besides hardware, Nvidia also took care of the support to the platform softwares, and basically they're saying that everything about the chip and software, it's custom made. So it says it's custom made, including libraries, tools, a new physical engine. I assume that they're saying physics engine there. I might be wrong, but I assume physics engine is what they're trying to say. And the exclusive NVN API, and that's an underlying API that will help the system render games very efficiently. And if they go on from there to say that will offer fast, high quality graphics with maximum efficiency. So we know about the frequencies, supposedly. Again, that's rumors. Who knows if that's really true or not. But putting those aside, even if we took those as facts, let's just say that. Let's just pretend like that's really the frequency. There's still a lot more to this chip that we just don't know. And it's very obvious that I feel like Nvidia wants to tell us what it is, but Nintendo is probably like, don't tell them now. If you want to tell them later, that's fine, but we need to at least get to this presser first. So I feel like Nvidia is getting so close to just telling us what it is. I feel like they're like kids at Christmas time would run downstairs and open their presents. I feel like there is something to this chip that they are not telling us, and I think they want to tell us. So I really want to see what they show at this presser. I'm almost positive they're not talking about any graphics at all, guys. They're going to come out there, and they're going to basically turn the TV on or whatever they have out there, big projector, and it's going to start showing games. And I think they want the games to speak for themselves, because even if the system is not as powerful as the Xbox One, maybe it is a notch below it, all the tricks and other stuff you can do with the newer hardware, there's a chance we might really not notice it at face value. Like Skyrim may look very similar on both, but things like maybe draw distance is slightly less. Maybe the anti-aliasing is different. There's a lot of things you might not pick up with just your eyes when you're watching someone play it. So there's a chance that games will be easy to port because it's going to support Unreal Engine 4. It's going to support whatever this new API they developed that I'm sure they'll give out to developers, and it's going to support Vulkan, which are all mainstream. They're mainstream APIs that people can use. And it seems like Nvidia is kind of taking control of this, and it seems like Nintendo is trying to make sure that things can be ported to the system, not easily, but easier than before, is what I'll say. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, definitely. Don't worry, like I said, the sky's not falling, at least until we get to the presser, and we just see no third-party games. Like I said, if we get there and no third-party games show up, then we have a problem. But let's get there. Consider what I was telling you guys, that it is probably a customized chip with a fan. So there's something we're missing, like I said. But, yep, check out tomorrow morning, guys. I'll have Newswave up, and then this weekend we'll have a little fun with some more little comedy skits like before. So I have a couple lined up. But until then, guys, I will see you next time.